for the Port of Palm Beach Candidates Forum. My name is Terrence Davis. I am the co-chair of the Central Palm Beach Chamber Government Affairs Committee. I am so excited for all you candidates that chose to provide some service for the public. It is a very unselfish job that you all are doing. On behalf of all the board of directors, committee members, staff, and all of our membership, we welcome you all to this great forum. Today, we would like to send a special thank you to Florida Public Utilities for being very generous and sponsoring this great event. My next decision, I will have to introduce our moderator for this afternoon. I hope you have your lunch and have you something nice to drink as you enjoy learning about the Port of Palm Beach here in Palm Beach County. Our moderator has over 30 years of experience in government affairs relations and public involvement from the federal, state, and the local level. She has received numerous awards, including Women of the Palm Beach Executive of the Year, Women of Leadership Award, even served as a state legislator in the House, where she served as chairwoman for the Appropriations Committee, served on the Transportation Economic Development Committee, Palm Beach Legislative Delegate of the Year. She is the owner of Merchant Strategies. She has done a wonderful job throughout Palm Beach County, and I'm sure a lot of us will know this name. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you, and I share with you, and I present to you, Sharon Merchant.
Thank you so much, Terrence. It's a pleasure to be with you all this afternoon. I guess it's almost afternoon. As Terrence said, it's really an honor to be with folks that want to serve the public. It's an honorable thing to do, and it's so valuable to the rest of us. And we appreciate each and every one of you, and I look forward to moderating the next hour or so with you all. The first duty that I have is to introduce each of you, and so it will be my pleasure to do so. I'm going to start with Mr. MacArthur. Peyton MacArthur. He is a longtime civil activist who first volunteered while in graduate school at the University of Florida. He collected signatures for Governor Ruben Askew's campaign to require the financial disclosure and government in the sunshine law that all Floridians now take for granted. After earning a Bachelor in Arts degree with honors in political science and a Master of Arts degree in public administration, he spent 8 years in Washington, D.C. as an analyst with the Florida Election Commission and 6 years in Tallahassee as publisher of the Florida Monitor, a nonpartisan political newsletter. In 1989, he returned to Palm Beach County, serving as senior aide to county commissioner and clerk of the court. In 1998, Peyton took a leave of absence to accept the unique challenge and opportunity of a lifetime to work on a presidential campaign as executive director of Palm Beach County's Democrat Party during the 2000 election and recounts. In 2002, Janet Reno ran for governor, and he was proud to lead her campaign in Palm Beach County. One more campaign in 2004, and it was back to local government as Director of Human Resources, Government Affairs, and Labor Relations for the Port of Palm Beach. The port has fewer than 60 employees, and multitasking was a necessity. After 6 years with the port, Peyton returned to county government at the request of Commissioner Burdick to serve as her senior aide. In 2014, Peyton was elected as Port of Palm Beach Commissioner, where he served until 2018, when he retired from Palm Beach County and did not seek re-election. Next, my pleasure to introduce you to Catherine Waldron. Catherine Waldron is a businesswoman and has been an executive with Fortune 50 companies as well as founded small businesses. From the 1990s to early 2000s, she was an executive at Sprint, where she became the youngest female sales vice president and built her group sale from $30 million a year to more than $450 million a year within 4 years. Catherine was elected to the Port of Palm Beach Commission in 2017, and in 2019, she served as the commission's chair. She's currently running for re-election, Group 2. Catherine is co-owner of Northway Coastal Industries, Inc., an oyster aquaculture ranch in Wakulla County, Florida, and a partner in MK Inc., an international business focused on infrastructure development in the Caribbean. Her community involvement is extensive and currently includes sitting on the advisory board to Palm Beach County Salvation Army, Palm Beach County Business Development Board, and Whitehall Homeowner Association. She has served on many other boards and committees in previous years. Her passion for community service led her and her close friend, Ambassador Robin Bernstein, to co-found Palm Beach County Cares in 2017 to aid hurricane victims in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, as well as hurricane victims in the Bahamas. She's worked with Hospitality Helping Hands to encourage her fellow commissioners to allow this group to hold their Saturday grocery drive-thru at the port. She received an undergraduate degree in economics from the University of Virginia and an MBA from Palm Beach Atlantic University. A resident of Palm Beach County since 2002, she was born and raised in Washington, D.C. area. Catherine has 3 children, Mary, Kate, Joseph, and Luke. Next, I would like to introduce Roderick Clark. Roderick Clark was born in Montego Bay, Jamaica, where he lived for 16 years before emigrating to the United States at the age of 17. He joined the United States Marine Corps from West Palm Beach recruiting office on the way to Parris Island Recruitment Depot, followed by infantry training in Jacksonville, North Carolina for 2 years. He spent 8 years as Marine Sergeant in Okinawa, Japan, which was instrumental in training Marines in the offloading of petroleum from ship to shore. He trained off the Horn of Africa, protecting American assets in the seas from pirates, and also protecting the African nations to expand and become self-sufficient. During this time, he pursued degrees in business management and petroleum logistics of oil and water, safeguarding the natural resources of local waters and maritime waters from Africa to the China Seas. Roderick is a family man with 5 children, 4 girls and 1 son. He became a top Marine recruiter, going back to what he really enjoyed, mentoring young minds to be excellent military leaders. He spent over 20 years in and around military bases to return to Andrews Air Force Base. He returned 6 years ago with his family to West Palm Beach, Florida. He is proud to be a Republican with conservative views. He is pro-life and believes in the right to bear arms. Next, I would like to introduce to you Clarence Chief Williams III. Clarence Williams discovered his life's calling in law enforcement at an early age. He had a 44-year career in law enforcement and retired in February of 2018. His law enforcement career included 28 years with the Cincinnati Police Department and the last 16 as the chief of Riviera Beach. Clarence became chief of Riviera Beach in 2002. Over his 16-year tenure with the department, the city of Riviera Beach experienced a 52% drop in crime. Much of this success is due to Clarence's unique customer service approach to policing, his emphasis on building strong community relations, and his effort in obtaining and maintaining cutting-edge crime-fighting technology for the department. He's proud of his 32-year membership with NOBLE, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, which he joined in 1986. He is also a past president of Palm Beach County Association of Chiefs of Police. He currently serves on the boards of Inlet Grove Community High School, Palm Beach North Athletic Foundation, and Palm Beach Healthcare Foundation. He has been honored as the 2015 ASIS Chief of the Year and received the Urban League of Palm Beach County's Lifetime Achievement Award. Clarence is a graduate of the University of Cincinnati School of Arts and Sciences, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice and Political Science. He earned a Juris Doctorate from the University of Cincinnati College of Law and successfully practiced law as a senior partner in the law firm of Williams and Shabazz, LPA, focusing on employment litigation and civil rights litigation and family law. Clarence's wife and soulmate is attorney Ethel Isaac Williams. Okay, so we've been through the introductions. Here are the rules of engagement. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for opening and closing statements, and I'll recognize you one at a time for that. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to each question. We'll rotate the order of those, and so I'll recognize each of you for that. After time is elapsed, after your 90 seconds for questions is elapsed, if you are not done, you will be muted. Chamber rules. And nobody is going to be recognized for rebuttals, so let's keep it friendly. The chamber has compiled a list of questions, amongst which I have selected 5 to 6, assuming we have time. These questions have not been shared with any candidates, and due to time constraints, we will not be able to take live questions from the audience. I would encourage our audience to write to the chamber with any questions that they have, and the chamber can forward those to the candidates to be responded to individually. Right now, we will go to our 2-minute opening statements. I'm going to recognize Peyton MacArthur for his 2 minutes. You're muted, Mr. MacArthur. We still can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay.
There you go. We can hear you.
Good morning, and thank you for hosting this conclave. It's very helpful, especially with the virus. It's a little hard to get out and around. I'm a lifelong resident of Florida. I've lived in the Port District for over 25 years. I used to go to the port when, if you remember, there was a Bazaar International across from the port. That actually was port property, which is now being used directly by the port. I went to school at the University of Florida and graduated with honors and got a master's in public administration. I am dedicated to public service. It's always been my greatest interest. The Port of Palm Beach is really unique, but it's in a vulnerable position. Right now, the port is under a depth restriction by the Pilots Association. That's an all too often occurring situation. It needs to be addressed. We need to do the minimum dredging necessary for both safety and for the economic viability of the port. I have a unique background in that I'm the only person who has worked at the port, where I served as Director of Human Resources for 7 years, and also being a port commissioner. The reason I didn't seek re-election when my term was up was because in the Florida retirement system, you cannot collect your retirement if you are in the system. Both the port and the county were in the system. As much as I love the port and its staff, I could not afford to take that huge cut in retirement. The reason I'm running again is because I'm concerned with Ms. Waldron's position on that key issue of dredging. I think you should make the port come first. And also I will make the pledge that I will never run for any other office, nor will I consider resigning to run for another office. I am dedicated to the port, its staff, and its community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Payton. Next, we'll recognize Catherine Waldron.
Good morning, and thanks for hosting this. It's good to see you guys. My name's Catherine Waldron. I'm currently finishing up my first term as Port Commissioner in Group 2. I'm running for re-election. I ran originally to bring my business background and experience to the dais, because I think the port is, as you know, an economic driver for our community, and it's important that we have the business experience to help govern the port and our tenants. I have always been focused on promoting job growth at the port, but also I think it's important to protect our environment. With regard to the dredge, absolutely we need to have maintenance dredging, because we need to make sure that the channels remain open and safe for our tenants to come in and out of the port. To make it a deeper dredge is problematic for many reasons. One is it would be environmentally problematic. It would negatively impact our environment, as well as our tourist industry, which relies on the environment for water activities. It also is not needed by any of our tenants. So I've always been against deepening the water and going 5 to 10 more feet into the coral that we have. In addition, I think it's important that we continue to showcase our port as a jewel for our community. The port provides a majority of products and supplies to the Caribbean. So it's very important that we continue to maintain that. We're a fiscally sound business. We're profitable. We haven't imposed taxes. We're a taxing district. We haven't imposed taxes since 1975, and we don't intend to. So we're in a very good financial position. We are a small niche port, 162 acres, so we have to make do with a lot. with a little, but we've done very well by that too. We are one of the most efficient ports in the country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Next up is Mr. Roderick Clark. Mr. Clark? Mr. Clark, you're on mute. Mr. Clark, you still there?
Yes,
There
I'm
he
here.
is.
Can you hear me now?
There he is. You're
Yes.
recognized.
Good afternoon. Yeah, my phone was overheated a little bit, so I had to come back on. Good morning and good morning. I'm happy to be here, and it's beautiful and it's bright. This is very important, and I'm really glad that we've seen that the need to do such a thing as this, especially with the COVID-19 hanging over our head, and we're increasing in Florida. This is definitely needed to showcase all the talents from all the candidates. Roderick Clark, I come all the way from Jamaica. I'm a Marine veteran, 20-some years serving. I'm the only Marine or military man, I believe, that's running. I do have experience with ports. I ran a port in Okinawa, Japan, which was one of the largest ports at the time and still is. I was one of the key security officers there as a Marine gunnery sergeant prior to 9/11 and during 9/11 and after 9/11. I made sure that everything that comes in and out the port was safe, make sure there was no contamination at all, make sure nothing or no personnel was there illegally. I believe this is something that's needed right now, especially with the COVID-19. We need to make sure everything comes in and out of our port is safe. We don't want to get anything from any outside asset that will damage our port per se or damage the people. Dredging is definitely important. If there's a need for it, funding is definitely needed. I believe our plan to get funding that will not break the bank, especially since we already have concerns right now financially when it comes to the port, i.e. the museum being closed and not enough funding for that, which we can discuss if we have enough time. Coral is definitely important. We don't want to affect the coral bed that's there, because that's important, because we don't want to, damage the ecosystem. We want to make sure that everything is good on that behalf. I'm a family man, and I want to make sure that families come first. With considering the COVID-19 that's going on right now, we need to make sure families are first. We need to make sure not only we are making money, but make sure the people that we're hiring in are safe, make sure the families are coming in that's safe, make sure people that are working are safe, make sure we are safe. That is important right now for all of us.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Clark. Your time's up.
You're welcome.
Next, we're going to recognize Chief Williams. You're still muted, sir. There you go.
Are we there? Thank
There
you.
you are.
Thank you, Central Palm Beach County Chamber, for this opportunity and your leadership in this area throughout the Palm Beach County area. As you've indicated earlier, my name is Clarence Williams, and I am a candidate for the Port of Palm Beach Commission Group 3. I'm running because I understand and I realize that the legislature created port authorities to be economic engines for the district that they serve. Our port district represents almost 50% of the land mass of this vast county, bounded on Southern Boulevard with a little jog at 441, and then extending from the ocean to the lake, on Donald Ross Road on the north from the ocean to the lake. That is our vast port district. It encompasses a number of communities. It was created and designed by legislative authority to be an economic engine for the entire region that it serves. Right now, many believe that the port simply represents that footprint that you see in Riviera Beach and northern West Palm Beach, but it is greater than that. And it is my desire to make certain that the economic benefit and muscle of a port authority is used to create business opportunities, job opportunities, development opportunities throughout that vast area. We're talking about concentrating efforts in the Western communities to revitalize our discussions around an inland port. I've talked to all three of the mayors in that community, and they've all to a person said, we need to revitalize those discussions. I pledge to lead as hard as I can when elected to lead those efforts in that community. And I hope to join other commissioners like Catherine Walden in leading that effort. We want to transform the waterfront near and around the port. Right now, we have a cruise ship that is an integral part of the revenue generating for our port, but it's a cruise to nowhere. People get off the boat, they go to a parking lot, and they go to blank spaces near and around the port in Riviera and West Palm Beach.
Chief, your time's up. I'm sorry.
Thank you so very much.
Okay. All right. So now to the fun part. We go to questions. I want to remind you that you each get 90 seconds, and we'll start in the order that we did the self-introductions, and then we're going to change it from that as we go. So I will start off again with Mr. Payton. You know, for the purpose of those watching this, you know, most of us don't go to the port. Most of us don't have that much interaction with the port, so we don't know as much about it as you would think. And the port does a lot more, as you've each pointed out, than most of us are aware of. So I would like, starting with Payton, explain to us the purpose of the Port of Palm Beach. What are all the purposes that it serves those of us who are residents here in this county?
Well, it serves a myriad number of purposes. As everyone has said, it was designed to be an economic engine. It produces tremendous, it's an export port. We basically send, like a lot of the sugar goes to Canada. A lot of if you look at the Caribbean, I consider the port to be an economic lifeline to the Caribbean. I used to give a speech that'd say, how many of you in this room have gone to the Bahamas? All the hands would go up, and I would remind them that almost all of their things that they ate, things they sat on, things they laid on, all came through the Port of Palm Beach. So it's uniquely, it's the shortest distance to the Bahamas. Before the Cuban Revolution, the Port of Palm Beach also had the single largest trade interaction with Cuba. We hope to do that again sometime. The port also is a guarantor of the amenities on Peanut Island. That's been a big issue, how we're going to do that, how we're going to make Peanut Island be an asset to both the county, the town of Palm Beach, and the city of Riviera Beach. I think we can do more. I think we can do more to increase trade. It's basically, as everyone said, it's a niche port, and our tenants come to us, and they do very well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Catherine, what is the purpose of the port? If you can explain that to our viewers.
Sure. The purpose of the port obviously is to, you know, we're a predominantly export port, one of the few export ports in the country. So the purpose is to move products and goods out to the Caribbean, and also sugar. It comes from the Glades out to our port, and then it gets shipped up to the refineries up north. So I think a vast majority of the sugar we consume east of the Mississippi is actually coming from our port. So we're vital not just to our community and our county in South Florida, but to you know, the Caribbean and other aspects of our overall country's economy. We provide 3,000 direct jobs and many more thousands indirect jobs. So we are one of the major economic drivers for our area. And the jobs are providing good quality of life. For example, stevedoring, which is one of the main jobs there, your entry income is $40,000 to $45,000 a year. So these are really good jobs, which really helps the economy. And being able to expand those jobs, as Chief Williams mentioned, and create an inland port is very important, because we have the ability to use the port and expand beyond just what we're doing now, which is, you know, as everybody said, a niche port, but we can provide more jobs just beyond our area, which is, I think, a good goal to have. So.
Okay, thank you. Now, Roderick, give us your take on the purpose of our port here. You need to unmute.
beautiful thing about a port is I see it as a security asset because so many things come in and out of the port. If I'm elected, I would definitely regulate that and make sure it's just more secure. Of course, it's a business hub. Of course, it is an opening to the world as far as economical, as far as sugar, as far as export and import. But most importantly, security. I see that as a military standpoint, as a soft target. And we need to do definitely more to safeguard that for not just for the people right now, for our future. And that's something I would definitely do. The port is definitely an inlet and will be a great asset, security. And that's something I would definitely improve upon.
Okay, thank you. Chief Williams, Clarence?
My history and connection with port authorities stems beyond the Port of Palm Beach and my seeking this office. When I was a younger man, I was a candidate for city council in the city of Cincinnati. And the city of Cincinnati had a similar circumstance where they were talking about developing the lands around the water. And they created a port authority. Port authorities help generate growth and development, economic growth and development for struggling communities. A perfect example is what the port in Cleveland, Ohio, for example, did. It actually built the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in conjunction with the city of Cleveland. As I described, our port district is massive. And if we create the proper public-private partnerships, we can do the same kind of economic growth and development throughout that district, and in particular in those waterfront communities near and around the port and its existing footprint. That's what ports were created and designed to do, to be those kinds of partners. I have read that our port generated almost $250 million in revenue. We should be leveraging that amount of money to spur growth and development throughout that vast district that I talked about. And
okay, we're out of time.
Sorry.
Yeah, the job of the moderator isn't always the good one, right? I have to cut everybody off.
At least
the next question.
At least you didn't mute me. That's what I'm.
The next question is, should the port dredge? And I want you to bear in mind that some of our listeners are not going to know exactly what that means or what the purpose for it might be. So you might want to expand on that a little bit so that somebody who knew nothing about that would understand. Okay, so I'm going to recognize first Catherine for this one.
Sure. Basically, you need to keep the channels open so that the ships can come in and out safely and efficiently. So what happens in our port and other ports, but not all ports, is there's shifting always of sand. So there's a shoaling effect, and so the channel, which maybe need to be 32 feet after a storm in particular, might end up being less than that. So that's why you always have maintenance dredging. In the federal government, we work closely with them to bring the dredging equipment in and get it maintenance dredging. So that's why you need dredging. Because the port wasn't, we had to blast the channel originally over 100 years ago to create the port. So it's not a naturally deep port. I'm against deepening because, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, the tenants do not need it. It does not create long-term jobs because if you were to deepen the channel and bring in bigger boats, those tend to be automated. So the crews are fewer crew members on the ships. Environmentally, it could be a disaster. I know that you can probably find an environmental engineer somewhere who says it won't be bad, but for every one of those, I could probably find 10,000 would disagree, because when you're going to go several feet into coral, and when you're affecting the seagrass, which is protected, it's a mess, and it's not needed, and we don't have money. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm trying to let you finish your sentence. I hate to interrupt anybody. Roderick? Should the port dredge? You're on mute. There you go.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's necessary to dredge. I don't think that's the question. The question should be, how will we fund the dredging? I believe if I'm elected, I will look at outside means to supply the funding. I believe that's what's needed. It's not necessarily the dredge. I think we need the dredge. It's a matter of funding the dredge to do this, because it's not inexpensive tax. It's very expensive. So I think that's what's needed. Finding business assets outside which will not interfere with what we already got going on to fund it so that our assets are intact. And as Catherine has mentioned, of course, we got to consider the coral and other things that will be taken in consideration, ships coming in and out. But yes, dredging is necessary. It's a matter of funding the dredging.
Okay, thank you. And Clarence, should the port dredge?
You know, as a policymaker, it would be my job as a policymaker when elected to the commission to evaluate and hear all the recommendations from across the board and then make a determination. From where I sit currently and from what I know, maintenance dredging is essential, and we do that, or it is done at the port. I've seen it. Dredging beyond that will require for me, more analysis of the impacts of that dredging on existing port operations, on the environment, and on the aesthetics surrounding that waterfront community. So deepening that channel for me doesn't sound like it is a very good idea given those impacts that I just talked about. That was be my position on dredging. Maintenance dredging we're already doing there, and it seems to be serving us well. If we do deeper dredging for more and larger ships, where are we going to park them? Where are they going to go? We're limited in that kind of space. So our operations must take into consideration, all of those things, including the aesthetics of the waterfront.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question, we're going to start with Roderick. What is your emergency plan for hurricane season for the port? Are you unmuted?
Yes,
there you go.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, emergency plan for the port, I will consider and look at what we have going on. For example, of course, we have ships there parked there right now. We'll definitely, if we're going to leave those ships there, we'll make sure that they're stabilized. This is something I also did in the military and the Okinawa port. Make sure that the ships are stabilized. If we have some smaller ships, we'll move them to a safer port to make sure that they're safe. Make sure personnel is aware. Make sure we get up-to-date information of how far this hurricane is, where it is, how big it is, which we have satellites now that are feeding us direct information. So we're getting the information coming to us. We just have to be prepared. And once we know it is definitely coming, we have to act. Well, I believe in, proacting, not necessarily reacting. So we will plan and they will act. And we also do a training run to make sure we are prepared in case we're hit. So we'll be prepared, we'll be proactive, we'll have a safe port to put all the ships, we'll have a plan in place, we'll move our personnel when needed, and we'll get the job done. Go Marines.
All right, thank you. All right, Clarence, what's your emergency plan for hurricane season for the port? You're muted, sir. There you go.
All right. What I plan to do in my role as a policymaker is stay in my role as a policymaker. I'm sure that the administration of the port, the CEO, the executive director, they have emergency plans that are in place to the extent that, my knowledge and background could reinforce and support those existing plans. I would provide that information. I was in 2003, when the Homeland Security Act was passed, I, along with the then port executive director, helped develop the Homeland Security Plan for the port. Many of the components that it has now as it relates to that Homeland Security plan are still in place. So I would bring my 40+ years of law enforcement experience, my 40+ years of having interacted and worked with port authorities, and lend whatever voice I could to the existing in place plans that I'm clear and certain that our port already has. That would be my involvement.
All right, thank you. Peyton, what's your plan for hurricane preparation, for emergency plan for the hurricane season? You're muted, sir. You're still muted. Peyton, you're muted. You're muted. We're having technical difficulties here. How about you work on your unmuting, Peyton? In the meantime, we'll let Catherine respond.
Sure. So we've, the port's been in existence over 100 years, and we've got a lot of things in place, processes and procedures, best practices for addressing various, emergency responses, in particular the hurricane response, for example, which we have. It's called Whiskey X-Ray Yankee Zulu. So what happens is when we monitor the Coast Guard weather incidents, and when there's a hurricane that's forming, we go into the whiskey mode, which is basically telling all the tenants they cannot have anything taller than 2 container ships out there, and they need to start battening down their hatches. So for example, Stone Rock would start putting a heavy metal mesh over it to contain their pile. The next step would be X-ray, which is everything that is loose is secured, and all ships have to leave the port, because when you have ships at the port during a hurricane, they can cause millions of dollars of damage to the port. So all the ships have to leave the port. And then you go into the Yankee phase, which is where that's when there's a hurricane and it's coming. And we were in that phase last year with Hurricane Dorian. Yankee phase is only essential employees are to show up. At that last year when Hurricane Dorian was happening, we were prepared to go to Zulu, which fortunately we've never been in. And Zulu is basically everybody goes home and just prays for the best.
Okay.
Fortunately,
your time is up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that. Peyton, are you back with us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. Sharon, I wanted to point out, you didn't ask me the question about dredging.
I didn't?
No, ma'am.
All right, well,
Which one do you
how
want
about
me to
respond to this one and we'll get back to them.
Okay. Actually, Catherine described the requirements for a natural disaster very well. The Coast Guard actually handles the water side. The Coast Guard tells us what to implement and when. They also close the port. The Coast Guard also is the one that has to approve the port reopening. The port on its side is responsible for the land side. And there is a plan that has been in effect for many years, and it's updated every year in coordination with state, local, and federal agencies. It's there's not anything left to the imagination. It has worked very well. We've never had a problem. We've done what the Coast Guard says, and as Catherine mentioned, we've never had to go to Zulu. Hopefully we never will. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And since I somehow failed to give you an opportunity to respond to dredging, is dredging a good idea? I'll give you 90 seconds for that one too.
Maintenance dredging is something we all agree on that has to be done. The fact is, at various times, the pilots, the cruise ship, Stone Rock, U.S. Sugar, and Tropical have all asked for deeper dredging and safety dredging to address issues at the port. I have spoken with Gerald Ward, who is probably the best known engineer in the port and around the port, and asked him, could it be done environmentally safely? And he's explained to me it could and how. I think, yes, we do need that. We don't need it for future tenants. We don't need it for bigger ships. We need it for our current tenants in our current ships. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next question. Do you think our county's port is healthy and successful? And if not, what would you do to change that? We're going to start with Clarence this time.
Yes, I believe our port is healthy, and I believe that it is successful. I believe that we can do more on the economic development side of what ports were created and designed to do. One of the things that I would be encouraging existing port administration to consider is developing an economic development component or department within the structure. Why? Because ports were created to be economic partners, and that economic development department could help us create the transformation around the waterfront that I've been talking about, help us jumpstart those discussions around the inland port. So it is doing a great job. It is a great landlord within the footprint of the port. Our tenants are doing well there, and they're thriving. And as I indicated earlier, there was a 200 and at least 50 plus or near that figure in revenue that's generated. So that's not a bad thing. What I would love to see is now we flex that economic muscle, leverage that revenue to help spur growth and development throughout the remainder of the district.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Peyton, is our port healthy and successful? And if not, what would you do to change it?
The port is very healthy and successful. The biggest issues facing the port in that regard are probably our land restrictions. And we have an interlocal agreement with the city of Riviera Beach, which prevents annexation. We have been trying to revise that agreement with the city for a number of years. We need to continue that effort. We had looked at going into a joint venture with the city for a garage in the marina area. That's something we need to do. The port, we're actually limited by, the port district is huge, but the port footprint is very small. And that's going to be an ongoing issue. We need to look at that. I think we're in a very good position right now. In 2 years, the construction bonds for the Sky Pass will be paid off, and that will add $4 million a year to the port's balance sheet. And that will make the port, give them more flexibility to address some of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine, is our port healthy and successful, or could it be improved?
Well, I think there's always room for improvement, but we're in a good position financially. We have not taxed since 1975, and we've been profitable even during the Great Recession. There's been, as we all know, the pandemic has had a lot of impacts on businesses, and in particular, cruise ships nationwide have all been grounded, and they're struggling to kind of get back up and running. So we anticipate taking a bit of a financial hit this year, like everybody is, but we will be able to successfully weather it because of our financial position. And in terms of the inland port, which is something that I think Chief Williams has touched on a couple of times, I'm a big proponent of that because, like I said at the beginning, there's always room for improvement. And being able to expand our economic footprint and help other communities within our port districts is important. And it's not just even creating new jobs out there, but it's also, taking traffic off of I-95, the trucks and stuff. So if we can put some of the distribution and logistics out west, give people jobs out there, and increase safety in terms of trucks not having so many trucks on I-95, I think that's important too. So yes, we're financially sound, but there's always pandemics and great recessions that we have to worry about, but we're in a good position. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to you all for the loud interruption on my end. Dogs over here in the audience. Next up, Roderick. Is our port healthy and successful? And if not, what would you do to change it?
The port is definitely healthy and very successful. I mean, it's definitely a great business hub, as all of the candidates have mentioned. And yes, I do love dogs also, so that's great. One of the main things I would like to see develop, and I did this in the Marine Corps, is youths. There's so much raw assets right now that is not being tapped. I would like to develop a train one, teach one for the youths of the local community to come to the port and learn off the port what is needed. Most people, if you ask them, don't know what the port does, don't know that the port exists, don't know the business that goes in the port, don't know about dredging, don't know about the ships coming in and out. There's a lot of people, if you talk to them around West Palm Beach, River Beach, they know the port exists, but don't know the necessary need of the port. So I would more try to showcase what the port does and how it's needed, and the financial impact the port has on the economy, which is very huge. And that's something that, if I'm elected, I would like to showcase that more to the public.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, next question. Working together on environmental issues really requires collaborative solutions. If you are elected, how will you foster cooperation and engagement between major stakeholders, industry, science, and government entities? We're going to start that with Peyton.
You're right. It does take a collaborative effort. And I think the port has always had a policy of open communications. We have had frequent public meetings. The people who are concerned about the activities of the port, like the city of Riviera Beach, Northern West Palm, Palm Beach Shores, and the town of Palm Beach, always are very active with the port. They make their feelings known. They make their concerns known. The former mayor of Palm Beach Shores used to come to every port meeting. When I was commissioner, I went to every Riviera Beach City Council meeting. And I take it back. I went at least once a month. But and I understand that since I left the board, they haven't had anyone go to the Riviera Beach City Council meeting. I think we need to reach out to those folks. We need to work on better communication, but I don't think that's been an issue. And I don't think it will be an issue in the future. We all love South Florida. We all love our environment, and we're not going to do anything to hurt it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Catherine, working together on environmental issues requires collaborative solutions. How will you foster cooperation and engagement between major stakeholders, such as industry, science, and governmental entities?
I think it's a very good question, because I think one of the things in addressing Mr. Clark's earlier comments, a lot of people don't really know how much of a jewel the port is to our community. And I think we could do a much better job of doing outreach and engaging the other business community, scientists, the other municipalities. We have about 17 municipalities, I think, in our district. And a lot of times we could do better at reaching out and making sure that they understand the impacts to their communities on some of our actions, because I think that's very important. So I've always been a big proponent of collaboration, because I think that bringing people to the table, not just so we can come to an agreement, but just so everybody has information and understands what's going on, it makes for a better decision process. And that's part of our job as port commissioners, is to provide to encourage that collaboration, lead that collaboration, and come to thoughtful decisions on some of our major issues. The port is located, right next to a big tourist attraction. Our biggest industry here is tourism, people come here for the water activities, and snorkeling is off of Peanut Island is considered one of the best in the world. So we have to be very cognizant of engaging our communities so they understand how we're protecting the environment for them. Thanks.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Roderick, working together on environmental issues will require collaborative solutions. If you're elected, how will you foster cooperation and engagement between major stakeholders such as industry, science, and governmental entities?
That's a very good question, and it goes right into what you asked before, what I mentioned before. We definitely need more and everyone to work together to bounce back from this pandemic. Right now, every business is hit, every facility of Florida has been, hindered in some way. Actually, the entire world has been hindered by COVID-19. So the more we reach out to outside entities, schools, colleges, and pull on them to know what we're doing and how we can work together to bounce back next year, next 2 years, or to safeguard ourselves from another COVID-19 or from any other further pandemic, we need to pull on the knowledge of everyone. We don't know everything. We do not. We don't even know our enemy right now. And the only way we can fight our enemy is to know our enemy. Right now, we don't know anything about COVID-19 as far as what we should know. So we need to pull on everybody, and everybody bring their knowledge, and we can improve our economy, help everyone, and bring more knowledge to our port. Peanut Island, the museum, and etc. We need all to cooperate, and we need everybody on the same sheet of music to help.
Thank you. Clarence, working together on environmental issues requires collaborative solutions. How would you foster cooperation and engagement between major stakeholders such as industry, science, and governmental entities?
Yes, I agree with what all three of the candidates have indicated as what are necessary conceptual steps in order to foster and create a greater working environment. But I'll tell you what I've done as I've sought this position. I've actually sat down and I've actually talked with 3 elected representatives from the Western communities. I've met with the Lure Board, the Lake Okeechobee Regional Development Group, and I've asked them, what is it that our port can do to assist you with growth and development economically in your community? And all of them have said that they've been looking for help building and getting off the ground the inland port facility. I made that pledge to them that I would work with other members of the Board of Commission and try to get that done. We would lead in that regard. So it begins with outreach. It begins with meeting people where they are. It begins with hearing them. It begins with an individual vision. And for me, that individual vision is one of economic growth and development. And it's all that we're talking about and all that we're running on.
Okay, I'm back on, or am I mute?
You're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me, okay. I think we have time for one more question. And I think the question I'm going to ask you each is, why are you the most qualified for this seat? We obviously have 4 very capable people here. Why are you the most qualified, Catherine?
I have a dog and somebody's knocking on my door, so just in case I might have to mute you. I'm most qualified because I believe, as I've said before, the port is a business and you need to have business experience. We're financially sound, we're very well run. In fact, we're one of the most efficient ports in the country. And to continue to promote that, we need to be able to make strong business decisions and ensure that our tenants, especially in times of the pandemic, are being taken care of. I have a business background, as you mentioned. I've been an executive for many years. I spent my entire adult life in business. And so I just think that the business experience is important. I also have always had a passion for community service. And I believe that this blends well in as a port commissioner, because being able to do outreach and ensure that all sides of the issue are being heard is very important when making thoughtful decisions. So thank you.
Okay. And Roderick, what makes you the most qualified?
The beautiful thing about America is that we can come from wherever we are and become whatever we want to be. So we are blessed to be in this great land of democracy. Why am I most qualified? When 9/11 occurred, I was a young gunner sergeant, just got promoted. And after we saw what happened, I was one of the key personnel that was given the task of putting together a platoon of young men and women to go into Iraq and to train or to reflect or defend America again if we were attacked. And we did that with 0 to 1 casualties. We did that then. I'm very qualified to lead. I'm very qualified to run. I love working with people. I believe everybody right now that is on the candidate is very qualified. And I'll be happy to work with each and every one, regardless of party. It's never about party. It's who is more qualified and who the people would like to see lead. So I wish everybody the best, and I hope to be one that's elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Clarence, why are you the most qualified? You're muted, sir.
What we're bringing to the table is over 40 plus years of public service in all aspects of governmental operations. I've served as an executive assistant to a city manager. I've served as a city manager, CEO. I've served as a chief executive of a multi-million-dollar youth social service agency, and most recently, the last 16 years as the CEO of a large or medium-sized law enforcement agency here in the city, in addition to my 10 plus years of having practiced law. I have a vision for the port. I know how to get things done, and I understand port security issues, having been involved in developing a portion of it. I believe that ports are created and designed to be economic muscles for the region. And for that reason, we believe that we're best suited currently to lead.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. And Peyton, why are you the most qualified for this seat?
Because I have the most comprehensive background with the port and with government in general. I was Human Resources Director and Labor Relations person at the port for 7 years. That was during 2 economic downturns. It was during the good times and the bad. I was actually the Director of Human Resources when we hired the current Director, Manuel Almira. I know the staff of the port, and I know the commissioners from both sides, from being a commissioner and from being a staff person. I know their strengths and I know their weaknesses. I know how to get things done. It's a unique background that I bring to the port, and I look forward to using it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, for our audience, you can see that we have 4 very motivated and interesting candidates with varying backgrounds, lots of different experiences that they would bring to this job. So I hope that you will take the time to reach out to them individually and to ask them any questions that we haven't covered here today. The last thing for me to do with you before Ms. Bedford comes back is to recognize each of you for a 2-minute closing statement. So we're going to start with Roderick. Would you give us 2 minutes? You can tell us whatever you'd like for your 2-minute close.
As a family man, so far it's definitely a privilege. And like I said, only in America you can come from wherever you are and become wherever you are. We're definitely privileged to be in. I'm privileged to be an American. I'm privileged to stand and wave the flag of America, which I've done many times, whether in Iraq, whether in the Horn of Africa, whether in Okinawa, Japan, all over the world. So it is a privilege that I see that a lot of us take for granted now. And whether I'm running for commissioner of Port of Palm Beach or mayor of Palm Beach, we need to honor the servicemen and women that are active, that are veterans, that are in the VA hospital, that are running. We need to recognize mental illness. We need to definitely make it an issue to take care of our veterans. We need to make sure that they are first priority, whether they're Vietnam vets, Iraq vets, or vets that have gone on before us or died. We need to recognize all our veterans. Stand for the national anthem. We need to stand every time it's played. We need to recognize what it stands for and respect our veterans and love this land that's given us so much opportunity to live and to make financial beneficiaries for our children that are here and for the world. And I know we've taken it for granted, and that needs to stop. And we need to do better as Americans. So I'm glad for this opportunity. And I know that we have a lot of qualified candidates, but I'm a true American and I love this land we're living in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Clarence, 2-minute closing to you, sir.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Clark for his service to our country. I am the proud father of a retired Marine Master Sergeant, and my brother-in-law is a retired Marine officer. So I know about commitment and I know about service. We want to thank the Central Palm Beach Chamber. And this is a great platform, and thank you so very much for affording us this opportunity. We're running because we believe that the port can be an economic muscle for the area that it serves. We're talking about expanding the economic impacts of the port. We're talking about building an inland port. We're talking about transforming waterfront communities near and around the port. And those waterfront communities are on the east and they're on the west. We're talking about partnering with our schools in order to create and help develop maritime professionals for those great paying jobs that a port industry generate. You know, one of the things that I'm also excited about, and I like to talk about it every chance I get, is that I would love to see a world-class aquarium somewhere near and around our port. You know what it would do? It would end the cruise to nowhere. Just imagine, folks now in the Bahamas and in the Caribbean, they get on the cruise ship and they say, let's go on a weekend junket and we're gonna go to West Palm Beach, we're gonna go to Riviera Beach. And guess what, when we get there, we're gonna get off the boat and we're gonna go to the aquarium. And then from the aquarium, there's gonna be outside amusement and then a movie theater. And there could be even a skating rink and restaurants and shops. You know, that's what I see happening when we talk about transforming a waterfront community.
Okay, thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Thank you so very much. Vote for Clarence Williams, Port of Palm Beach, Group 3, in the primary, August 18th. Thank you so very much, Central Palm Beach Chamber, for this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, Peyton, your 2 closing moments, please.
Very good. I'd like to thank the Chamber as well and Mr. Clark for his service, as well as all our other veterans. I need to address one thing. Several candidates have brought up the inland port. The port actually looked at the inland port several years ago. And after extensive research and cooperation with US Sugar and other industries, it was found not to be viable. And one of the reasons is very simple. We're an export port, not an import port. An export port wouldn't be shipping items to the Glades for distribution around the state. That would be from an inland port, such as Port Everglades or Port Miami, but not us. But now, The reason I'm the best candidate is because I'm sorry, not the best candidate, my closing statement. I have a vision for the port. I want to work more closely with Riviera Beach. I want to address Peanut Island. I would love to have a citizens panel that would review the port's charter. We need a non-interference doctrine. We need maybe have term limits. We need a lot of things. We need to cooperate with our neighbors. There's so much we can do, but you have to know where we've been to know how to get us to where we could be. I have that unique knowledge. So I'd like to quote Clarence with a minor exception, vote for Peyton MacArthur on August 18th, Group 2. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Catherine, you're recognized for your 2-minute close.
Thank you, and I too want to thank everybody at the Central Chamber for putting this together and taking the time to make this so successful and giving this opportunity to get our message out there. Real quickly, with regard to inland port, basically we are an export port, but going back to what Chief Williams has kind of been talking about, we can use our port to enhance other communities within the district. So the inland port is a viable project. It would help actually some of our fellow ports like Port Everglades and Port of Miami, which are actually kind of getting to their, they need more space. So our ability to help that is important, and it also allows us to help our community. But in terms of my closing statement, I am seeking a second term for Group 2 Port Commission. My name is Catherine Waldron. I have a wide base of support that I'm very proud of. I've been endorsed by the unions, firefighters, the Human Rights Council, Congressman Hastings and Congresswoman Frankel, as well as many mayors, all the mayors out in the Glades, along with Mayor James of West Palm Beach and Mayor Felder of Riviera Beach. I've been endorsed by many other elected officials. So I have a strong support group. I have, in the past 4 years, reached out to most of the communities within our district to make sure that the communication lines remain open so that they know what's going on, because I think a lot of times, as we've said, we're sort of a hidden jewel here. And the more we can get our message out to how important we are to not just our community, but to the Caribbean and to parts of the country, I think it's important. So I ask for your vote. Catherine Waldron, Group 2, Port of Palm Beach. Thank you very much.
I want to take just a moment to thank each of you for your desire to provide public service. As a former elected person myself, I can certainly testify to how hard it is to campaign and to try to meet as many people as you can and answer the questions you can in a thoughtful way. I think that you guys have all given us very thoughtful, smart sounding answers. And again, I would encourage whoever is watching to take the time to ask the questions that were not asked if you have any. You can email those questions to the chamber, and the chamber will distribute those to the candidates. These folks have given a tremendous amount of their time to offer themselves in public service, and my hat's off to each of you for that. And with that, the question and answer portion is completed, and I believe Mary Lou Bedford has a few remarks she would like to add at this point.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Sharon. Thank you to our candidates from Port of Palm Beach Groups 2 and 3. We really appreciate your time today. I want to thank our wonderful moderator, Sharon Merchant. Really appreciate the informative forum that we just had with all of you. And just exactly what Sharon said for our audience tuning in, if you do have questions for us, please email info@cpbchamber.com or go to our website at cpbchamber.com, and all the candidates' information is available there. So feel free to do that. On behalf of our Central Palm Beach County Chamber Board of Directors, our Economic Development Government Affairs Committee, our staff, and our wonderful partner, Florida Public Utilities, we want to thank you all for taking your time to joining us today. We want to thank the candidates for your time and dedication to our communities. We so appreciate it. Again, to Sharon Merchant for her time as our moderator. It's not an easy job to cut off candidates, but I think everyone really adhered to the time, and Sharon, you did a wonderful job facilitating today. We again want to just thank you all. We're happy we could bring this platform to our members. And if you need the chamber for anything in the future, please feel free to reach out to us. And again, thank you all for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good luck, everybody.